Probably our country's biggest asset is its ability to grow good grass, grass which our farmers convert into export income. The problem is that it doesn't grow all year round, yet our animals have to eat. And it's only at certain times of the year that there's a real surplus which can be skimmed off and set aside for the times when there's little or no growth. The two main methods of doing this are baling hay, or in this case, making silage. Silage is a green feed preserved or pickled by fermentation, and the art in making good silage is to create the kind of environment that will produce the right type of fermentation. What comes out of a silage pit is only as good as the material that goes in. The quality and quantity varies depending on what stage of growth the material's harvested. And the optimum time is just as the first seed heads begin to show. This is when the balance between protein and sugar content is at its best. Too early and there's no sugar and the grass won't ferment. Too late and the feed value drops off. The decision to send in the forage harvester is, as in many operations on the farm, also governed by the weather. It's here that the use of a contractor who can provide the necessary machinery and labour to get the job done quickly is of advantage to the farmer. The contractor's men are experienced operators, and each one of these forage harvesters, under average conditions, can cut up to 8 tonnes an hour. These forage harvesters flail the grass rather than cut it, lacerating it and releasing a certain amount of the moisture. The fan effect behind the chain flails suck up the grass and over into the basket behind. Speed is important both to the contractor and the farmer. To the contractor because he's paid on an hourly basis, and to the farmer because the stack's completed quickly, which helps reduce the loss of nutrients. An inexperienced contractor can be a disaster in the making of silage, and one of the key men in the operation is the man on the stack or pit. This stack began as a 12-foot deep pit, and right from the start has been rolled continuously with the tractor. Now, as the grass gets well over the top, the driver has another job to contend with, shaping the growing stack. Both these points are quite critical in the making of good silage, and an experienced driver's needed not just for the sake of the silage, but from a safety point of view as well. Compacting the stack to get rid of the air is very important for fermentation. If it's not done quickly, the valuable sugars decompose. When harvested, the green material's covered in a certain bacteria that'll only ferment if there's no oxygen. The sugars in the process are partially changed into an acid, which in turn stops the bacterial action, so that fermentation stops at the right time and the grass is pickled. The aim then is to stop this action at precisely the stage when the preserved material gives best value as a stock food. Losses in feed value that occur when the grass is being cut in the paddock are often small compared with the losses that could take place through poor management at the stack and through poor stack design. These losses can be even more severe if the grass has a low dry matter content, as an extremely young, quickly grown pasture. Most silage is made with direct cut flail harvesters, like the ones we've seen, and put into pits or stacks like this one. But the grass itself is coarse, bulky, difficult to compact, and more importantly, contains a lot of moisture coming as it does straight from the paddock. With constant rolling, the moisture's squeezed out. This can give an effluent problem, and also the liquid contains a good deal of the valuable sugars and nutrients needed in the fermentation process. Another technique for making silage, which largely overcomes this problem, is to wilt the grass in the paddock for a few hours after cutting. The process takes a little longer and a different type of harvest is used, but the end result is a better material. It looks different when it comes into the stack and is more productive feed than conventionally made silage, largely because stock will eat more of it and there's less bulk and less useless moisture. But you don't get anything for nothing. The wilting technique involves a greater range of machinery and obviously takes longer. Depending on conditions, the grass is raked and windrowed anything from 8 to 24 hours after mowing. To get high protein wilted silage, the pasture should be harvested before its feed value declines through over-maturity, just as with conventional silage. And that's why in most districts it takes place at this time of year, and why large amounts of machinery are needed to get through it all in the time available. The material shouldn't be left to become too dry, and just before it's ready to be brought in, a further raking is needed to put 2 windrows or 4 mower widths into one row for the next part of the process, the precision chop machine. The precision chop harvester, compared with the flail machine, provides a more finely chopped and lacerated grass. This helps get rid of moisture, and the material is a good deal easier to handle, both in the paddock and on the stack. The wilted and chopped materials more easily rolled and compacted, and a more airtight seal is achieved, which lowers the chance of poor fermentation, in turn making the silage more palatable for stock. Wilting and chopping has a considerable effect on the volume of material coming off the paddock. Wilting alone can reduce the number of loads needed to 2/3, and by precision chopping as well, it lowers it to 1/3 of the number needed for conventional silage. The additional cost of the precision cut harvester at the moment makes it more a contractor's machine than an individual farmer's. But perhaps with syndication amongst a group of farmers, this problem could be reduced. Conventional high moisture silage is seldom of a quality good enough to feed livestock to increase their production. It's merely a maintenance feed. But the difference between that and wilted precision chopped silage is quickly becoming more apparent, and for this reason is likely to be much more widely used in our livestock industry.